Hi there. Welcome. Thank you for joining. So we're going to do a integrated mindfulness meditation. So it will be about 25 minutes or so. So when you're ready, coming into a posture that will support you in being both alert and at ease. And so just checking in and noticing how things are right now, what it's like in the body and the mind and the heart. Recognizing this self reflective quality of the mind, recognizing that mindfulness is here. And so, beginning this practice with a little bit of a reflection on the intention to be practicing mindfulness, to be developing this quality of heart and mind. And in particular, with this integrated mindfulness approach, is to do so without inadvertently strengthening this kind of sense of the false self, the little me inside that feels psychologically like it's doing everything. And really, one of the keys to developing this practice in a way that doesn't build up and reinforce that sense of a false self is to actually connect and use our intention for the practice rather than rely on kind of willpower and attention. So maybe I'll talk a little bit more about this at the end of the meditation, but if we're relying on willpower, we're essentially kind of battling ourselves in a strange way. So recognizing as we come into the meditation session that there can actually be different thought patterns, emotions happening that may have different interests, even conflicting interests. And so rather than trying to squash any of the interests that conflict with meditating, we take a moment, just as we do with everything else with mindfulness, is to notice what's actually here. So, first, it's like opening or even listening, not thinking more thoughts, but perhaps just recognizing what's in the heart and mind right now. Maybe there are thoughts about doing something later, or thoughts about something that happened earlier, or a sense that you maybe need to rush on to something. So, just acknowledging and allowing those other intentions a little space to express themselves, or at least to be felt in the body. and noticing what any of these other intentions might be, and at the same time recognizing that it's okay to put them aside for a period of time. And maybe reminding yourself of the importance to you of this practice. You've put aside this time. So, really waking up to that, really acknowledging the role that you want this to play in your life. And when you're ready, you've developed clarity around your intention for the next 20 minutes or so. Then allowing yourself to release or relax any strong intention to control the meditation. Perhaps just allowing the sense of the body sitting and breathing on its own to develop, to come a little bit more into the foreground of awareness, without forcing or controlling, trusting in this background, awake, intuitive awareness, which is really already aware. It really doesn't need the help of that little narrator in the mind, the little me, which is actually only commenting on things after they've happened. So releasing and opening into this intuitive awareness. And using the sensations of the body or the breath or the whole body breathing as a kind of resting place for the mind, not needing to force or do anything, resting, alert and aware. And if you'd like to, you can also begin to incorporate sound. This can be a really natural perspective to take for the meditation, allowing the sensations of the body and the breath to come into the foreground, coming and going, allowing sounds to really just come and go as well. And when you notice the attention has gotten pulled into thinking, then rather than trying to squash that or force the attention back to the body or breath or sound, seeing if it's possible to just release, unhook from this kind of trance or connection to thoughts, especially if the next thoughts are kind of judgmental. Oh, look, I got distracted. Recognizing that's really more of just this narrative mind coming up, trying to take credit for things. And once again, just relying on this awake, intuitive awareness, which already knows your intention for this practice period. You've already communicated that, trusting in that, just trusting in this awareness of now, aware of here, this present moment, allowing the body, the mind, and heart to know themselves without your help. Not filtering or directing or controlling your experience. You don't have to do that. Allowing whatever is coming into experience to be there, to last for a while, to go. Allowing this awake awareness to do what it does, which is knowing, already aware, already intelligent, already allowing whatever is here to be here without interfering, rejecting, filtering. Awareness doesn't do any of that rejecting or discriminating, picking and choosing. And perhaps just being on the lookout for those moments when there really is a true release from this doing, fixing, conditioned mind, the mind patterns and emotions. So it doesn't mean that there are no thoughts or no emotions, but being on the lookout for the moments when you're not fooled into thinking that that's you and that you need to be following the agenda of whatever the thoughts are. Even if it's just a few seconds, recognizing the freedom from that busyness, stress, recognizing that the awareness that's already here is really free of any kind of disturbance, is peaceful but not cold, is allowing and loving and supporting. And even if the mind comes up and says, oh, that was really only for a few seconds, or that's kind of subtle, I don't know, is that really it? Once again, just letting those thoughts do their thing without needing to pick up the agenda that those thoughts represent. And essentially, this practice is noticing more and more the qualities of this background awareness, this awake intuitive awareness that's already here, trusting in that it's always available whenever we release, relax, look through, look beyond the busyness of the mind and heart. And perhaps using these last 2 minutes of this meditation to allow the mind to fall fully open, letting go of any doing, any agenda. What's that like? Okay, great. So, if you have your eyes closed, you might open them, allow yourself to stretch or move around a little bit. So, I thought I'd just maybe say a little bit more about this using of intention rather than willpower and forcing our attention on a meditation object. So, just also maybe to say it's not like we're setting up using your willpower or using attention is a bad thing, more that it's a limited thing. And particularly as we move along in meditation, it begins to become an obstacle rather than a helpful tool. So when we're starting meditation, seems very helpful for probably just about everybody for it to be guided that you can Use your attention to direct it to something like the breath, which is, not necessarily exciting, and just observe the breath. And that by doing that, we do certainly calm down some. It just kind of automatically the nervous system shifts. We are interrupting, kind of spinning around in the cycle of thinking or stress, and it actually can give rise to very pleasant mind states and body sensations and all of that. So it's really helpful place certainly to start. The other thing that we learn from it is that, strangely enough, even though we've decided that we want to follow the instruction and be aware of the breath, we usually pretty shortly, especially when we're beginning, end up doing something else, paying attention to thoughts. And so we begin to get a little bit of a sense, although pretty much I think a lot of times we're not really so clearly seeing what a big lesson it is that we are not in charge. So the me that's meditating, that directed the attention, isn't actually a person that's in charge of stuff. That really is just a thought pattern. And it does get to drive for a little bit. It gets to direct the attention. And no matter what, I don't care if you've been, meditating in a cave for 300 years, at some point, it's in our biology and our psychology. The attention is going to go wherever our other mental processes that are usually unconscious have decided is more important. So the attention will move somewhere else. So that's a great lesson to learn. Um, I think what we don't kind of pay so much attention to is then in daily life, this is happening a lot that we um, are trying to use our willpower to not eat another chocolate chip cookie or to exercise, and there's this battle going on. And if we notice that, it's really weird. It's like there's at least two people, one the virtuous self, and the other that's got in mind to do something. And so they're in conflict. So that's pretty strange if you really look at it, especially if you look at it from the perspective of believing that the thoughts that are currently in consciousness are being thought by me, and I'm a consistent person through all of that, which we sort of believe, even though there's evidence all over the place that that's not true at all. I mean, we all know we could be completely inconsistently thinking or feeling about something, 10 minutes later, right? So just even this can be an interesting practice during the day, just recognizing I'm using willpower, which by definition means I'm in conflict. So anytime I'm using willpower, there's a conflict. Otherwise, I wouldn't be using willpower. I'd just be acting. Okay. So willpower means there actually is other intentions that maybe you're not conscious, and I'm consciously trying to override them. So it's pretty unstable. It takes a lot of effort. There's good reason why, and there's all sorts of research about willpower and how it doesn't last throughout the day. All true, but it's largely missing the point, I think, in that we're relying on sort of winning a war against ourselves. So in the end, this just is tiring. We sort of give up. So I've found it's not that useful for, once we have some degree of calmness in the mind, right? So, certainly, if we've taken MBSR and done the practice, we have enough now to instead talk to the part of ourselves or listen to the part of ourselves that has a different agenda. So rather than just kind of the me that's here now, and I sat down to meditate, is in charge, and that's me, and I'm going to make the rules, and I'm going to use willpower to uh, control things, to recognize that there might be other intentions happening or other agendas, and just opening and listening to that rather than trying to pretend it's not there. Almost like, you're working on something in your office or in the kitchen, and a 4 or 5-year-old comes in all excited and it wants to tell you something. You're not going to shove them out of the room and slam the door. That is not going to work. So similarly, giving a little airtime to this internal 4 or 5-year-old or whatever it is, uh, just knowing, oh, okay, wow, there's really a strong belief that I need to be planning for X, or I need to be thinking again about what somebody said to me yesterday, right? For the 800th time. So if we just allow a little space in the beginning of the meditation to not think more thoughts about the situations, but allow the 4 or 5-year-old to have its say. Okay. So listening, maybe listening, feeling it in the body, then we're in a better position to kind of bring ourselves in alignment. Okay, I can see that there's this kind of thought or belief that I need to think of it, plan again for XYZ. And once I see that clearly, it kind of loses its drive. We realize that, well, no, it doesn't make any sense. Actually, I'm going to meditate for the next 25 minutes. And I certainly don't want to spend the time planning for something that I don't need to plan for. So if we really see it, it takes a little bit of the juice out of that. And then we can kind of more encourage the intention for the meditation by, as we did in this, reminding ourselves, no, this is important to me. This next 25 minutes matters. And so we're kind of really, and if the more heartfelt it is, we're kind of almost giving instructions to our unconscious selves. And then we can lean back and rely that we've got it. All of the we's in here are going to be working in our best interest, rather than there's just this little me here that happened to get the microphone and it's going to try to control everything. And all these other intentions can just, whatever, I'm going to squash them. Okay. So it more is listening. And then in listening, recognizing most of them, or maybe all of them, are not really important right now. And what's really important in my heart is to be using this time going forward for the meditation. And so I'm relying more on this alignment and relying on this more intelligent, intuitive, awake awareness for the meditation, rather than trying to force my attention on something in particular. So hopefully that's helpful. Just some thoughts to experiment with as you go forward. And as always, be great to hear from you, whether that's helpful or not. You can leave a comment. And as I've said before, they don't end up being public, they just go to me. Okay. Have a great day and thank you again.